In ECMAScript 6 new syntax for functions we are added. Arrow functions. Arrow functions are really convenient at some point, but it has some restrictions also, what you need to know for sure. In the following video I'm going to show you how to create and use arrow functions. Arrow functions as API callbacks like in array map or filter methods as a callback. What happens to this keyword inside arrow functions? I'm going to show you also some complex arrow functions when arrow function returns another arrow function, and so on. So today's topic is arrow functions. My name is Zura. Welcome to my channel. This is a simple code where I create an arrow function. Arrow function syntax is the following. Instead of function keyword, we have equal and more the sign, but the sign is after parentheses. This is an arrow function. So arrow functions can be only created like function expressions. You cannot have function declaration of arrow function. So you cannot actually call your arrow function before it is declared, before it is created. That's not possible. But this is a normal function. It can be run like this and it prints the output. Arrow functions are really useful when it's about passing as a callback. The simple example is setTimeout. So setTimeout accepts the first parameter function, second parameter is milliseconds. After that the function will be executed. So setTimeout. So we can actually replace our function, our normal function, with arrow function. Here it's much shorter to write and at some point it's really useful. So this setTimeout prints setTimeout after 1 second and this works fine. Now I'm going to show you I think the most important and powerful side when it is used inside callbacks. Like let's imagine that we have an array. I have an array and I am calling filter function, filter method on this array. And this filter function works in the following way. This callback function is called on each element of the array. And if this callback function returns true, this element will be included in the new array, and if it returns false, the element will not be included in the new array. So the simple logic is that if array is even, I return true. If it's odd, I return false. So I want in my new array to have only even elements. Let's print this new array and see the output. We have 2, 4, and 6. Okay, first of all, one thing which we can do here, I intentionally write this code here. I want to show you how you can simplify this also if you don't know. So actually my IDE WebStorm is really intelligent and it can detect that I can simplify this code. And if I hit Alt, Enter and simplify, I get this. This is one-line version of the previous code, and we just return the statement like as it is. If A is even, we return true immediately. Okay, let's replace our functions with arrow functions. So we remove this function keyword and we write equal and arrow sign between the brace and parentheses. And this works, this has the same output, 2, 4, 6. When our arrow function accepts only one argument, we can even remove parentheses. This only works for just one argument. If you have two arguments or if you don't accept arguments at all, you need these parentheses. But for a single argument, you can remove this parenthesis and leave the argument name only. Another simplification what we can do here is to avoid return keywords at all. So if we remove this return keyword, of course it won't work like this and our new array is empty because we don't return anything. We need to return true from the function. But if we also remove these braces and semicolon, now the engine automatically returns the function body. We can write this on a single line, which is super simple and super understandable code right now. So in this array filter function, we accept a argument and return this statement. If it's even, this is returned. If it's odd, then false will be returned. Let's see another example about array map function, for example. Array map function's idea is to take every element of the array and map it to something. So I'm gonna accept again, the callback function again accepts single argument and returns something. In this case, we can return anything just to demonstrate the arrow function and how map works. Also, let's return 1. So this will map every element inside the array into 1. So we have 7 ones in the array. What we can do is we can remove this return and braces, and we just have a corresponds to 1, which is really simple to understand. So a corresponds to a plus 1, for example, and we have new array where every element is increased by 1. About this keyword inside arrow function. So first of all, let's see what is this in the global scope. This in the global scope for Node.js environment is a global object, and for the browser environment, it's a window object. On the following example, I'm selecting a button from my HTML document, and I'm adding an event listener on this button, and inside event listener, I am printing this. The default behavior of the event listeners is that when you print this, it prints the button DOM element. Well, at some point this is good and I want button, but sometimes I want to have a different this. First of all, let me show you what is this when we replace our normal function with arrow function. In this case, this is window object. This is a window global object. What you need to remember is that this keyword inside arrow function doesn't have its own this scope. It takes this outside scope, outside of this arrow function scope, and the scope outside is global scope. So whatever this is here, the same this is inside arrow function here. Let's make this example a little bit more complex. Okay, here is another a little bit more complex example. We have an object and the object has 3 properties. One is name, which is a string, and it has init and show a dialog properties, which are functions. Inside init function, I'm selecting the button. I moved actually my code inside init function. I'm selecting a button and adding event listener on this button and printing this. and I'm calling my object init method at this point. So when I run this code, object init method will be called, my event listener will be added to the button, and when I click on this, I print this. And this, in this case, is button because I am using normal function, not arrow function. So imagine that I want to call my show dialog method on this event listener. So when button is clicked, I want to call show dialog. This show dialog won't work, of course, because this corresponds to button. And my button doesn't have this show dialog method at all. What can I do? If I replace my normal function with arrow function, then this corresponds to the outer scope, whatever is inside the init function. And inside init function, this corresponds to the object. And the object has show dialog method, so this code will print showing dialog, and we also print this, which is our object, which has init, name, and show dialog. I'm going to also show you the example how it was done in the previous versions of in the ES5. So at this point, this corresponds to the object. So the way to call the show dialog inside event listener when we have a function here is we save our this inside the variable, like let me is this. What we actually do is save a reference to this inside me variable, which corresponds to the object at this point, and we print here this and me also, and we call me here. And if we click on the button, we see that this, which is printed here, is button, but me corresponds to the object, and me show dialog works also, and printing showing dialog. Some tricky and complex examples about arrow functions. Imagine that we have like this. Fn is a function like this and like this. What is this? Something which we can't understand, maybe. So let's print the fn first of all and see what is it. Okay, it doesn't give us much information. So this is a really simplified version of arrow function without any braces, but what you can imagine is you can actually put braces and return statement in the following code. As I mentioned before, when you remove return statement and when you remove braces, it works as it was working before. So we can actually add these braces here and also return statement. Now it's maybe more clear. Our fn function returns another function, and we can add another braces and return statement here, which returns 6. So now we have a function which returns another function. So if we execute our fn, it will give us another function. If we execute this another function, now we have 6 in the output. This is the end of the video. I hope arrow functions are clear for you. What you need to know is this keyword is different in the arrow function and how it works in API callbacks. This will simplify your code. If you like the video, click on the like button. If you have any questions, feel free to comment below. If you want to subscribe, if you want to see more videos from me, click on the subscribe button. Thanks for watching. See you in the next time.